Khosrow Ali Kurdi, a lawyer, former political prisoner and human rights advocate from Sabzawar and residing in Mashhad, passed away at his workplace due to a sudden cardiac arrest. However, as this news spread, serious ambiguities emerged regarding the circumstances of his death. According to information shared by people close to him, Mr. Ali Kurdi's friends and associates consider his death suspicious. It is said that government forces removed the security cameras from the scene and the family of this well-known lawyer has been denied access, actions that raise further questions about what really happened that night. In recent years, Mr. Ali Kurdi represented several political prisoners, detainees of Iran's national uprising, and a number of justice-seeking families. He was the lawyer of Fatemeh Sepehri and the family of the slain Abolfazl Adinezadeh, playing a significant role in pursuing cases related to the protests. This human rights lawyer was arrested and released a few days later on bail. He was charged with offenses such as propaganda against the regime and activities in favor of opposition groups, and was sentenced to 1 year in prison, 2 years of disbarment, 2 years of travel ban, and restrictions on online activity. He had been released from prison less than a year ago. The pressure on him did not stop there. In recent years, he faced additional cases resulting in rulings such as forced relocation, employment bans, and prohibition from continuing his studies. This was despite having completed 5 years of his PhD program in public law and being on the verge of taking his comprehensive exam and writing his dissertation. Abbas Puriani, Chief Justice of Mazandaran Province, announced that 8 administrators of a Telegram channel called Shekar Mozdur have been arrested on charges of participating in forming and running a network to disrupt national security and propaganda against the system. According to the judiciary of the Islamic Republic, they were allegedly operating as part of an organized network. So far, no information about the identities of these individuals have been released. A number of residents in Jungan, Char Mahal, and Bakhtiyari province held a street protest demanding the release of Bita Shafi'i and her mother, Maryam Abbasi Niku, who were arrested in recent days and, according to their relatives, transferred to an unknown location. According to reports shared from the area, simultaneous with the formation of this gathering, internet access experienced severe disruptions, and mobile connectivity was also unstable for a period of time. Mohsen Parish, a monarchist political activist and one of those injured during the nationwide protests, is still being held in solitary confinement more than 40 days after his arrest, and according to received reports, has gone on hunger strike in protest against his situation. Throughout his entire period, he has been denied the right to meet with a lawyer and to contact his family. And despite a bail order of 750 million tomans, he has not been granted temporary release. Mr. Parish was arrested in front of his home. His relatives say that during his transfer to prison, signs of injury were visible on his elbow and neck. The charges brought against this political activist include propaganda against the regime, insulting the leader, and disobedience to officers. He had previously been arrested and convicted for his political activities and was ultimately released under an amnesty. Mohsen Parish's last contact with his family was on November 6. Since then, he has had no communication with the outside world, a situation that has increased concerns about his physical and mental well-being. Heavy court sentences have been issued for Feyzullah Azarnoush, the justice-seeking father of the late Pedram Azarnoush, and 4 other pro-monarchy activists in Dehdasht. Reports indicate that these individuals, who were arrested in June and later released on bail, were sentenced to long prison terms by Karim Reisi, judge of Branch 102 of the Dehdasht Criminal Court. According to the verdict, Feyzullah Azarnoush, listed as the primary defendant, was sentenced to 23 years in prison. Milad Karimi Nasab received 11 years, Amir Hossein Mohsenipour 8 years, Mahdi Karmi 5 years, and Hamid Dastwane 1 year in prison. The charges against them reportedly include forming a group called the Javidan Guard of Kohguluye and Boyar Ahmad, activity on social media, and writing political slogans on walls. Legal sources say that a significant part of the indictment is based on forced confessions extracted from the defendants against themselves and against one another. The list of charges includes insulting the supreme leader and propaganda against the system, insulting religious sanctities, forming a group with the aim of disrupting national security, inciting people to commit crimes, online propaganda in support of the Zionist regime, spreading false information online, and membership in a group formed with the intent to endanger national security. Reza Mohammad Hosseini, a pro-monarchy political prisoner held in Qazr Hazar prison, is facing a new court case. A hearing in this case was held in Branch 13 of the Karaj prosecutor's office via video conference, without access to his chosen lawyer. According to a report submitted by the Al-Borz Province Intelligence Department, the investigator charged him with a new accusation of propaganda against the system through publishing a statement online. The investigator issued a bail order of 300 million tomans and recorded his final defense. Mr. Mohammad Hosseini rejected the charge during the session and stated that he had not engaged in such activity. The hearing took place while he was deprived of his right to legal counsel of his own choosing. Previously, Reza Mohammad Hosseini was sentenced by Branch 36 of the Tehran Court of Appeals to 14 years and 6 months in prison and a fine on charges including membership in anti-regime groups aimed at disrupting national security, collusion against national security, propaganda against the system, and disobeying government agents. After his retrial request was accepted by Branch 21 of the Court of Appeals, his sentence was reduced to 5 years in prison. He had been arrested at his home by security forces. Donia Hosseini, a Tehran resident, has been summoned to the Enforcement of Sentences branch of the Tehran Public and Revolutionary Prosecutor's Office after receiving a notice to begin serving her prison sentence. She had previously been sentenced in 2 separate cases by Branch 26 of the Tehran Revolutionary Court to a total of 8 years and 6 months in prison and a fine, of which 5 years are suspended. She received a summons to serve her sentence, and 1 day later, she was notified by text message that a travel ban had been imposed on her. Branch 36 of the Tehran Province Court of Appeals, presided over by Judge Khojaste, sentenced her to 3 years and 6 months in prison on the charge of propaganda against the regime in support of and in reinforcement of the State of Israel. This sentence had initially been issued by Branch 26 of the Revolutionary Court under Judge Iman Afshari. Donia Hosseini was previously arrested by security forces in Tehran and was temporarily released from Qarchak prison in Varamin after posting bail of 3 billion tomans. Kambiz Temruri Muqaddam, a Baha'i citizen living in Gorgan, has been arrested by the security forces of the Islamic Republic. During a raid on his home, officers searched the residence and confiscated some of his personal belongings, including electronic devices, books, and documents. At the same time, his workplace was sealed by security forces. The arrest took place at his residence. So far, no information has been provided about his place of detention or legal status. People close to him say he suffers from high blood pressure and needs medical care, which has increased his family's concern for his health. Arrests and pressure on followers of the Baha'is faith have increased in recent years, with numerous reports of home searches, business closures, and widespread restrictions against them, while officials of the Islamic Republic consistently deny that such a trend exists. Sajjad Fatih, a political prisoner held in Evin prison, has been sentenced to 5 years in prison by Branch 15 of Tehran's Revolutionary Court, presided over by Judge Abul Qasim Salawati. According to a published report, the sentence was issued on charges of propaganda in support of and to strengthen Israel, based on allegations that he filmed restricted locations. The main evidence in the case was reportedly a report from the IRGC's Tarallah headquarters in Tehran. Mr. Fatih is a Tehran resident, a husband and a father. Sources told Dadwan that Basij forces severely beat the 39-year-old at the time of his arrest. The verdict was upheld in full on appeal with no charges. Following the 12-day war between the Islamic Republic and Israel, domestic repression in Iran has intensified, with a new wave of summonses, arrests, and harsh sentences now underway. Number of retired teachers gathered in front of the Islamic Republic's parliament to protest poverty, poor living conditions, and the authorities' continued disregard for their demands. A group of people with disabilities in a symbolic act threw eggs at the building of the Plan and Budget Organization to protest a monthly stipend of 1,400,000 tomans, an amount that, according to the protesters, has no relation to the real cost of living and effectively pushes them below the poverty line. The protesters stressed that this insulting stipend is the result of the government's failure to implement the law on the protection of the rights of persons with disabilities, a law that was passed years ago but still has not been enforced in its most essential support provisions. A group of people with disabilities gathered in front of the Islamic Republic's parliament on the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. The protesters, pointing to the non-implementation of the law on the protection of the rights of persons with disabilities and their difficult living conditions, demanded immediate attention to their situation. A group of victims of the large-scale King Money cryptocurrency fraud case gathered in front of the Supreme Court. The protesters, who estimate the scale of the scam at around 170 million euros and the number of plaintiffs at 4,100, called for an urgent response from the judiciary and accountability from officials. A group of victims of the King Money and UT Byte cases gathered in protest outside Branch 31 of the Tehran prosecutor's office over the prolonged judicial process. The protesters, who say they have been trapped for years between repeated promises, fruitless meetings, and bureaucratic confusion, stated that their only demands are transparency, genuine investigation, and the return of their money. A group of poultry farmers in Kermanshah province staged a march and gathering in protest against the shortage of government-supplied feed and the sharp spike in the price of poultry feed. The protesters say that the cost of purchasing feed on the open market has become so high that continued production has become impossible for many farms. A group of poultry farmers in Fars province gathered in front of the provincial governor's office in protest against the sharp increase in the price of livestock feed and the failure to receive their government-allocated quota. They say that the surge in the price of unsubsidized feed has pushed many farming operations to the brink of shutting down. A number of students at Nushiravani University of Technology in Babol gathered on campus and protested against the very poor quality of the cafeteria food. These students say that over the past months they have repeatedly pointed out the poor condition of the food, the low quality of the meals, and the administrators' disregard for their requests, but no effective action has been taken. A group of retirees from the steel industry in Isfahan gathered in front of the relevant institutions to protest against livelihood hardships and the authorities' repeated broken promises. The retirees, who had worked for many years in this industry, said they are now facing economic pressure even for the basic necessities of life and express their dissatisfaction with the current situation. Participants in the gathering chanted, cry out against all this injustice," and called for immediate action regarding their salaries and overdue benefits. A protest gathering of pharmacists in Gilan was held in front of the Social Security Medical Documents building. A number of retired telecommunications workers in Kermanshah, Sanandaj, Isfahan and Gilan held a protest gathering in response to poverty, poor living conditions, and the authorities' disregard for their demands.